Okay, sorry.
What time?
It went off. It is 7:33.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm just gonna-
Roll call for attendance, please.
Sandy, here. Matt,
Here.
Kelly,
Here.
Ken,
Here.
Lori, here.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve.
I'm sorry?
Matt makes the motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Can I get a second? I'll second. Discussion?
In regards to the consent, there were some issues last meeting with bills and so forth, and we've addressed most of those. Yeah, we addressed most of them, I believe, within the packet here, so that's all.
Okay.
Any other discussion on consent agenda? So we have a motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Open session, anyone wishing to address the board for agenda items only? All right, moving on to unfinished business, excuse me. We have Rob from Ameriscan, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Good evening. Do a little presentation today. I've been working with Lori for the past 6 months almost with a product we have called Minutes on Demand. The name of our company is Ameriscan Imaging. We're located in Shelby Township. And we specialize in document imaging and document management. And we have a website add-on piece that we're going to show you today, kind of how it works. How it can benefit you guys, the residents, the board members, kind of the whole community as a whole. It's not taking away from your website, we're simply just adding one more page. It's going to act as your document center. It's going to give the residents the ability to search over the archives. And when I say archives, I mean meeting minutes, ordinances, resolutions, bills, contracts, really whatever you guys want to put in there content-wise. And you have a very active clerk, and Laura, she's already started scanning some of the older minutes. So we're trying to get everything electronic, trying to put it into the website to give the residents access to these archives. So I was going to show you really quick what the application is all about. We actually have it linked to your website right now, and I know we've had some issues here with the website being down and up. But again, it's just a link. So right here under meetings, we have it linked right now, but this will probably change if they decide to approve this. And what we do is we create a page that's going to house different document types. So there's no limit to the amount of folders, subfolders, document types, users. And when I say users, all the board members. You can have people from the Planning Commission, ZBA, all logging in, adding documentation, or if you want to just run it all through Lori, you can do that. So when we go in here, as I mentioned, Lori did some scanning and we uploaded it for this presentation today. So it's going to house all of your minutes. Now, your website can currently house minutes. What the difference is, it gives you the ability to search over all of these archives. So we can go up here into the search bar. I know it's a little hard to see here. Type in whatever we're looking for. Any single word, we can search by multiple words, by exact phrases. It has advanced search functionality, which means if you're looking for something just in the ordinance folder or just in the newsletter folder, you can narrow down your search criteria by selecting certain folders or subfolders. You can also add in date ranges. So if you know something you're looking for happened back in 2012 under the Township Board minutes, you can search just that folder for just that year. Just to give you an example here, if we wanted to search for a liquor license, I know it's a little hard to see, it's not the best projector. When we hit search, what the application does is going to bring back the results. It's going to tell you where it's coming from. So these are all Township Board meeting minute results. Brings them back in chronological order. When you click on one of the results, going to locate that document. It's also going to go inside of the document, and it's going to highlight the words you're looking for. So it makes it very easy to find information for the residents, for the clerk if she's processing a FOIA request. Everybody has access to this 24/7, 365. It is a cloud-based application, meaning it's hosted on one of our servers, which is in a secure facility. It's backed up on a daily basis, guaranteed to be up 99.99% of the time. Neighboring communities that use it, just to the north here, China Township, and you can see they have a little bit more history in there. They actually have their information here back into the 70s. Again, these are all fully searchable minutes. Now, they typically use it just for agendas and minutes. Again, it's really what you make of it. We can add any document type, and I'll show you a couple other municipalities that use it. Newsletters, contracts, audits, again, it's up to you. Now, we added some new functionality that's really excited about. We just launched this. We have a few clients using it as a trial basis right now, but it's ready to go. It's been bug-free. Is our email notification system. It's going to give you guys, the residents, the ability to sign up to any of your folders or subfolders. So whatever the board decides, whatever information they want to put in this application, you can click on this email notification tab. And what you're going to do is you're going to create an account initially, and then once you create an account, you log in. I'll show you real quick. And once you're logged in, it's going to give you the ability to sign up to whatever information you want to know about. So depending on the folder structure that they come up with, the documents they put in there, you can sign up for the different folders, subfolders, and every time they upload a document, so the new agenda that came out whenever this was ready a day or two ago. So as soon as Lori would upload this to the site, if you're subscribed to the Township Board agenda folder, it's going to send you an email what they link to that document. So it's going to notify you, click on that link, you can see what's on the upcoming agenda, you can make your decision if you want to attend the meeting or not. It works great for reading cancellation notices, time changes, the new newsletter, things of that nature.
We can also put the packet on there too, can't we?
Absolutely. So agenda packet, and we do have Wi-Fi in there, so she can create the packet electronically. A couple of you can bring a laptop. If you want to be old school and have the hard copy, you can do that too. But yes, you can read the application right from your tablet. Show you an example of that. And you can actually bookmark and create item numbers, so whatever you want to go to, right to the bills section. But again, we like to use the terminology crawl, walk, run. We can start slow agendas and minutes. We can always add to the folder structure. You guys would have the ability to add folders as you go. Again, there's no limit to that.
And it's, I'm sorry to interrupt you,
No.
but it's not just the board of trustees that can utilize this.
I know.
It's all of our commissions that can utilize this, so when they want to get it out. And so all the residents that want to be informed as to what's going on that agenda and what information and all that, you're not only receiving that on your internet, but you can receive that on your phone as well.
Correct.
Because they have the mobile apps, which we have the problem here right now, is that we're lacking the broadband service and that. So now they have the ability, residents have the ability to download that app and get it on their phone.
Yeah, and it is iPad, iPhone, tablet compatible, Android, laptop, obviously, if you guys want to, like I said, bring your laptop in here, access your packet electronically. Again, it's up to you. We include 5 gigabytes of space too, so everyone's different with their website. China Township actually uses the same website company as you, IT Right, I believe. Mm-hmm. So we have a lot of common IT Right websites that use our application, and I know they do limit how much space you put in.
And IT Right does not have the capability of having that random email.
No,
I did ask them that. So if you want, it's not up to Lori and that, which, like Mr. Barnes had stated, back, can you send me the agenda and all that? Well, if everybody asks to send the agenda and you're doing that, but for the residents to sign up for it, makes it a lot easier on our clerk, because if she misses somebody, now you're signed up for it, so you're getting it instantaneously as it's posted on there.
Yep, automated process, so again,
Right.
they pick and choose what they want to receive information for.
Exactly.
You can always log back in, edit your account, and say, you know what, I'm getting too many emails, I just want to know what's on the
Right.
agenda only now. So you can always go back in, modify.
And it takes a lot off of the people, the chair people that are posting stuff, you know, instead of why didn't you post that, well, or why didn't you send that to me, well, now you're signed up for it, so you get to pick and choose
Here it is.
what you
Like I
want.
said,
Correct.
you know, I've spoken to Lori 15, 20 times in the last 6, 8 months, and, you know, she's really anxious to get this going. As I mentioned, she's been very proactive with scanning the older archives, and I can't tell you how many situations we've run into where that information is not scanned electronic. You have the hard copies
Right.
laying around here, they get water damage or fire or something worse, and then, you know, your history's gone. So
Right.
she's proactive in getting that stuff into the application, and I told her that we would assist her too as far as uploading it for her.
And it alleviates her not being responsible to send it out to the people who want it. Instead, it's their responsibility. If you want it, then you sign up for it to get it.
Correct.
You know, and then,
Is this on-site storage or off-site storage of data?
off-site, from the
Offsite,
cloud.
just like your website too, yeah, everything's, you know, whatever.
And then, can you explain to them how that works with off-site, when we upload data to you,
Yep,
and how
so
it's returned back
what-
to the township?
Yeah, what you do is, again, we back up our server on a daily basis. So the main server is located in Southfield, Michigan. We have a backup in Shelby Township, so they communicate. So God forbid something happened in Southfield, it's backed up nightly in Shelby Township. But how it works is Lori or whoever we decide upon here is going to log into a client administration console. And we can have as many people as we choose again. So the planning commission can log in, they can upload their own permission, Lori can do it all, whatever you guys choose. So there's different tabs in here. So she just is gonna log in here, basically select the tab you wanna upload to. It's a very simple process. You go find your file on the computer and you hit upload. So once it's uploaded, automatically goes to the page. It automatically indexes as well, meaning as soon as you upload a document or 50 documents, because there is a batch upload function as well, those documents are immediately searchable. So the main thing for this application is the ability to find information. Again, if we put our ordinances in here, what is the fence ordinance? We can go in here, select just the ordinance folder, type in fence, it's going to bring you to that portion of your ordinance book or that ordinance, and you can find the information you need.
Do we currently have your service now, or we're anticipating
Well, we ran,
possibly signing up for it, or?
correct, and what we did is for the first time ever, we ran a 6-month free trial of the software. So I met Lori at the conference, the clerk's conference back in June, and she was interested, so we kind of got her up and running just so she can get a feel of how it could help the township. And we created the page for you guys. Along with that promotion too, typically we charge a setup fee, so that's for creating your page, importing your past data, and with that 6-month free trial, they waive the setup fee. So there's-
When you say importing our previous data, does that mean you'll have someone come and scan this?
No, that's
Yep.
uploading the electronic portion of it. So once it's scanned, we'll upload all of your archives and history. Like if you look here in Bloomfield Township, again, I'm not sure how far back you guys go, but they have data back here too, you know, back in the 1930s. These are all searchable documents. Not that you're gonna be referencing these, you know, all the time, but it's nice to have your history up there. Again, you know, preventing it from something happening to it. But yeah, we'll do all of the old information. So the electronic data, we're gonna upload it on a day-forward basis. You guys have the ability to just log in and upload your current agenda, minute, ordinance, newsletter, you know, whatever type of document you wanna put into the application.
Now, just so we're clear on what's a scannable, or what is the term you just used? Handwriting, you can't go in and search.
Correct. Yeah, it's only gonna be typewritten or computer generated, but actually, they do have handwritten information up here just for preservation purposes, so.
Right.
You can go in here and still access and read them. I'm not sure where your breaking point is there from typewritten to handwritten, but you can still upload those documents. You just can't Search,
You just can't search the handwritten ones.
handwritten.
So if I say I want to find the liquor licenses, it won't go to the handwritten portion, it only goes to the typewritten portion.
Correct.
Sandy, you have anything? Matt?
No. Thank you.
Is it possible, or what are the rates if you were to send somebody to help her download, upload, whatever you wanna call it, any of the previous years or information?
Yeah, I
So
mean,
we put it on there. Is that a service that you
well,
provide?
as far
or-
as the scanning, I'm not sure if you plan on doing it.
We've had a wonderful volunteer, Sue Biscorner has been volunteering her time and scanning
Just scan it
for
out.
me.
Perfect,
Right.
so, and I will put this in the contract too, and I think I already have it in there, that as much as you guys scan and get that data, we will import it for you, the old stuff. The new stuff, the agenda minutes, you guys will be in charge of uploading.
So from now on, any of the people that are coming to the meeting can see any of this information that we've got. They can get their agenda, they can get all the information, all the backup that we've got.
Correct.
So if they wanna question anything,
Yeah, that way they'd have
They're
it.
capable
When they
of
come
doing
to
that
the
too.
meeting, they would have the packet.
Correct.
If we upload packets.
If you decide to put the packets in there, then yes.
how long does it take to scan?
It
A year.
would take, right now, it takes me hours to get the packets ready. If I could
No,
just
no,
scan
that-
it,
Last year, if you were
Oh,
gonna do,
sorry.
let's say 2012, how long does it take Sue to scan that?
Boy, you did a couple years in a couple hours, so 2 or 3 years.
Of everything?
Yes, I mean, we're
Well,
already
not
back.
everything, she was doing,
Well, that's already our,
Yeah, this is your data in here already, so you guys are already back to 1999.
and I have a bunch more that I haven't renamed to
Yeah, and
import,
upload, so.
yeah, so. to
Now,
upload.
it's just for the board, so I'm not sure on the other,
And the other main thing is that our residents that don't have, when they want us to post it to our website, now that, well, how many people say they don't have internet service? Well, now they can get this on their phone as well. They can get instant, as soon as something is posted, if they choose to be alerted that way, okay, I want to be alerted when the planning commission posts their minutes. I want to be alerted when the when the board of trustees posts, they're going to be alerted, they're going to be notified, and they get all that. Instead of, it no longer becomes our responsibility, because quite frankly, we can't take on that responsibility because we fail, because something always comes up.
Yeah.
So it alleviates us, because then they sign up for that, here's your choices, sign up for whatever.
So
Just
we've
for-
got it set up to where only designated people are gonna be able to post stuff on there, is that correct?
Correct.
yeah, that's up to you.
Just
guys.
like the
Yeah.
supervisor of this board,
Just like the
head of the
website,
planning
the
commission.
Correct.
Yeah.
If Lori wants to upload all the documents for the planning, ZBA, the board, ordinances, newsletters, it can just be her. If you want to add every one of you and you're all helping her, and, you know, it's up to you guys.
Which-
It's unlimited users, so.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Originally, we started this because of the liability with our website. Do we now not have liability because we don't get something up on time?
Term liability is.
Well, we have a disclaimer on our website.
Yeah, that's
I
just.
can't even put the schedule up for planning commission for 2015, and I had to get a new password. My password does not allow me to access the planning commission or the historical signing to put a new schedule up on the historic site.
But in all defense, Pat, that's not our fault. That's somebody else's fault.
No,
So.
the
just-
bottom line,
No, the
yes.
bottom line is
No,
that's
the
not
bottom
our
line is,
fault.
we went to this because the liability on the website, we were liability because we can't keep up with this and we don't want to be liable. And so we put a disclaimer that we can't do anything on it. But so now we have this, and we still have to be the ones responsible to make sure it goes to this. So now, do we not have liability with this, whereas we had liability with the website?
This is
That's
not,
my question.
this is not posting your meetings, this is posting what happened at the meetings.
But we were doing the
Problem-
same thing?
No, the problem before was that the website, the argument was made that if you had a website, you had to use it and post your meetings in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. And the determination was made that it was an incorrect argument, that your website only had to make the postings if you used it in your regular course of business for the purpose of posting notices of meetings. This is not posting notices of meetings. This is posting what's already happened on a website.
Can
It's
we
not
post
being
our
used.
meetings on this? Because like,
Again, this is
if I'm,
not-
if I'm a
again, this-
resident, I want to go
This
and
isn't
say-
our website. This
But no,
is
my question
historical
is- My
stuff.
question is, if I'm a resident and I want to know when the next planning meeting is, I could go to the schedule before. Now I can't go to the schedule to look. Can we put the schedule up here? on
No.
this?
Absolutely, you
This
can
is not-
So
actually.
there is no place to access the schedule for planning meetings, because sometimes it might have gotten changed to
If
the
you're-
third Wednesday of the month instead of the fourth.
Let me clarify something if I can, and if I'm incorrect, please let me know, Rob.
Sure.
We can post the schedule that we vote in December for the next year. For instance, our schedule of meetings. We can post that on there like we do the minutes.
What about the planning commission?
But if you keep changing your date and time, that's not the this is not the this isn't our website. This isn't the place to do that.
We're not, we have a schedule.
But it sounds like that's what you're asking for, is for some place to go so you can say, we aren't having a meeting tonight.
No, that's not what I'm saying. To post the schedule, because it's known that the board meets the second Wednesday of the month, and that the planning commission meets the fourth. When we set up the schedule at the beginning of the year, there may be some days that we're not going to meet the fourth, like the December one. We meet in December, we don't meet in November. People don't know this, so if there's no schedule to go to, there's no way you're going to know as a resident. I say I'm a dumb resident that doesn't active in the township, and I want to go to a planning commission meeting. I can't find out when to play without calling the
Well,
township.
first of all,
And
they're
if I don't wait
posted
till after
outside
12
the
o'clock,
township hall, they're posted outside.
The whole
B,
schedule for the-
make a
for
phone
the whole
call,
year, the whole
make
year.
a phone call and call your township hall and
Right,
ask
they don't answer
them,
the phone after 12 o'clock.
well, Pat, that's great that you're the planning commission chair and you're talking about your township like that. That's all I have to say about that.
This is the point.
Second of all,
I'm not
second-
talking
that's
like
my-
that.
that's
Wait a minute,
my
I'm
point.
not talking like that.
That's
I
my
said
point.
I
My
told
point
you
is,
until
we
12.
have it
I'm
on the
not saying
marquee,
don't
you can
answer the
call
phone.
the township, and then you can look on the internet. That's my point. That's my
My
point.
point
Call
is-
the township hall and ask
My
them.
point is,
That's
they're
the
they're
business
not
hours,
here after
that's the
12
marquee.
o'clock. They're not
That's
here
the
at 12
business
o'clock.
hours, and we did not set the business hours.
That's not
We
my
did not
point.
set the business hours. My point is, you want everybody to
Oh,
retaliate
it's so
to,
limited.
really?
So limited.
It's not my
This
fault we're
township is
limited.
so limited.
I know
Because we're all
exactly,
afraid about
because you're the
lawsuits.
one who complained about
That's right.
limitations.
Because you know what, I have
Because
no
when we wanna
problem
expand
putting
our
up- I
limitations-
have no problem putting the planning agenda or the.
Okay,
planning
we're gonna
agenda
move on.
Was not a problem.
My whole point is, if you're a resident and you want to know what's going on and when the meetings are, A, call the township hall during their business hours. B, the business hours are on the marquee. C, then for those that are limited, that have internet access, they will look at the internet. Just saying.
You can,
So-
and
And you can add the schedule,
It
the
does have a-
calendar
it does have
on
a
there,
calendar.
just so you know.
you can add.
That's the question I asked.
I know,
What's
but
the
you were
argument?
so going off on your
Oh, no,
tangent that we're
no.
coming
If
to
you would have
that.
answered the question,
Well, let me answer that question. It's been answered before.
It has.
Let me answer that question clearly. The issue came up that the reason that we were not going to be posting on the website was because an argument was made that if you post your meeting schedules on a website, then you must meticulously post all meetings and all notices. The township made a decision that they were not going to be in a position to be able to do that, and given that potential exposure of a claim of open meetings violation, decided not to do that. This is not a posting site that the township's going to utilize for posting notices of meetings or changes of meetings. They're going to do it in accordance with the statute that says that they must have their annual meeting posted, and if there's changes, they have to post the appropriate notices. If it's a special meeting, at least 18 hours before. You're going to follow all those guidelines. If you start saying that this is the website that's going to be the purpose of notifying residents of meetings and changes of meetings, you're going to get in the same trick bag. And so my recommendation is the board would not utilize that for that purpose.
but
And
we
that-
also,
and then the
but we
reason
were
for
also
that-
stopped
The
from,
reason for that is we have a gotcha society.
and we
No,
also were
wait,
stopped from
wait,
putting
wait.
our agendas, planning couldn't put their agenda or
But
their
that's-
ordinance on.
that's not our
because-
fault.
That's because we had people who wanted to say gotcha. And They
Jeez.
were looking at the Open Meetings Act and using it as a tool to try to attack the township. guess what? They were wrong, but, you know, as far as the township is concerned, it's the better course of business, that they've already made this decision, that they're not going to use the web for posting official meeting sites, for the very reasons that have been talked about in this township for the last 2 years.
For exactly what you're doing, for exactly that reason. That's exactly why we're not
I wasn't talking
doing.
about changing, I was talking about putting my schedule on.
But we were saying the reason why we can't do that is that if you have that change, we don't want somebody gunning after us, which we've had in the past. It has nothing to do with that we don't agree with you. We agree with you wholeheartedly, but we can't. We're just as frustrated as you. But we can't do it. We can't do it. And you know I'm a big advocate of wanting to do it and not having to do it. I'm just as frustrated as you.
Well, it is very frustrating.
So, but it would be nice to see the support on that.
Yeah, just frustrating that we have to spend extra money because of one person in this town.
It is, it is.
The one concern I think that Pat probably has is that every time there's a meeting, she emails every board member to get a response to make sure she's had a quorum. She canceled one meeting in the past year because she could not get a quorum. Is there any way?
Is that your
she-
planning commission that you're talking
The
about?
planning commission,
Okay,
yes.
that's not
Is there
us.
any way, the only way she would notify people would just be to post it on the door? Would be the way to do that?
Yeah.
Usually it's the last week.
Well, unless,
No, it's not last.
You know, I'm a big fan of documentation, so I would say if, what I do is, which, you know, please email, please respond to this so that I know that you received this message within so many days or whatever time frame
Oh,
you
yeah,
have.
I get.
And then if they don't, then you call them out on it.
Oh,
Then you
I-
say, you know
I
what?
Another-
do. And the thing is, I do put the post 48 hours before, but the thing too is, personally, I don't drive by this township all the time. When there's special meetings, I'm really, you know, I have no idea there's a special meeting. Because why? Because I didn't drive by the township. Nobody notifies me there's a special meeting. Even as a resident, maybe I would be interested in a special meeting. So unless I drive by the township, which is really antique.
Yeah, but Pat, you're being, but Pat,
Because I can't read from my car.
wait, listen, but you're being exclusive to the people that don't have internet service. What about the people that don't have internet service? They have to drive by here to see if they're, so you're being
Okay, so
discriminative.
now-
So
okay,
you're
no.
assuming that everybody
No,
has broadband.
No, so now you're saying it's the phones. Why can't? we-
I'm not saying it's phone, I'm
Okay,
saying
no,
we
now
have
you're
how
saying
many
it is
residents that
access to
complain.
somebody's phone. Okay, so then if there's a meeting canceled or there's a special meeting, I still won't know, and they
You know
still
what?
won't know.
The
Phones
bottom
are
line
phones.
is, if there's a meeting, if there's a special meeting, if there's a cancellation, what we have to do, unfortunately, in Cottrellville Township is look at the township hall. That's where we officially post all of our messages. Sorry, but that's the way it is.
It's fine.
That is our
It's not, you
official.
guys had a special meeting, I didn't have a clue about it, as a resident even, and I would have liked to.
We
have gone to it.
we post everything, our
I
forum
know,
is that we
and I
post
don't
it.
drive by the township every day.
But you know what? It
That
is
is
what
so,
it is.
you know what gets, you know, really is the joke of it all, is that we're moving forward with this, and we're so backwards in notifying residents by.
But that's
the
not
door.
our fault, Pat.
Yes.
That's not our fault.
So-
Hey, I'm open for suggestions. If you have suggestions.
Yeah, now you got this. It kind of gets them on their phone, they can look on their phone, they can look on the internet.
So you can be in charge of posting all the meetings, so when
For
somebody
my
wants to
meeting- no,
sue you
your
for not.
meetings, yeah, you should be responsible for it. If you can put it on the door, you can put it on here. That was the other problem. There was no problem, I mean. if
But
it
what
wasn't
about the
for me-
residents
No,
that
wait,
don't
wait,
have
let me
internet
finish.
service? What
Let me
about the
finish.
residents that don't have
There was no
internet
problem
service?
because I had to print off a word to put the notice on the door. So guess what? All you do is copy and paste it and put it on the website. Well, I
Exactly.
guess you could do the same thing here, copy and paste it. Because I think people should know that if a
All right.
meeting, there's a special meeting.
but you're,
But this
Okay,
isn't
so we're
about
backwards
posting
with
meetings.
notices
no,
for
you're
special
ignoring
meetings
what
and
John,
cancellations. But we're forward with everything else.
you're ignoring
That's
what
what
John just said,
I
which
get what
is,
you said.
if you
So
are
we're all
using
gonna
it,
worry about
keep
one
talking,
building in this
Pat.
township.
keep talking.
A question?
Yeah. Why
Uh,
would?
Is your calendar dynamic with the documents? Are they linked dynamically with the documents?
No, currently they're not.
So it's just a list of...
Just a list of meeting dates, holidays, and that's correct.
Kelly, previously the board always posted in January in the paper, the Voice.
So do we, by law, we have to.
I did
No,
not see the township minute.
I'm sorry?
the schedule.
Oh, the schedule.
I
I'm
didn't-
sorry.
I didn't know that,
I'm
Vi.
sorry.
I didn't know that.
And it
The-
wasn't in there. I saw China's, I saw East China's. No, ours is not.
We
Well,
have,
I
we
didn't
have-
know that,
We have the
so-
schedules hanging up all over here. The Voice, here's my thing about that. Not that it's law, but the Voice doesn't even distribute to, they're not even at the restaurants, they're not at the party stores, they're not, so what's the point of that? But we have them all here. So if you're a concerned
Sorry, Rob.
citizen and you wanna know when your meetings are, why would you not come to your township hall
Because I-
and ask
this-
when your meetings are?
It says in this little book, you can put them in the paper. for
You
all
can,
residents.
you can, but why would you not come to your township hall and grab, it's
You're
all
still
over the
being
place.
discriminatory because now it's only for people with special phones and internet service, so then there's the other people are missing
Yeah,
too.
but this is also a tool.
I mean, if you want to say discriminatory.
This is
it's
also a
worse
tool
both
though.
ways.
that
Well, yeah,
helps
what's
the
your
clerk.
suggestion? Write up a
I'm not
plan,
against it.
let us
I'm not
know.
against it.
You know what, I'll be willing,
You know what I'm burned up about is this stinking website. We're paying money for a website we can't put anything on. We can't do anything
I
with
agree
it.
with you
And it's just a
100%.
waste of money. Now
That's why we're not gonna
now
have
we're
it. That's
spending
why I'm
more
voting
money,
to
and
disband it.
I think your thing is great, but we're spending
Oh,
more
no, I'm
money
letting this go.
and we can't facilitate our website. I think we need to do both. We need to be able, it's just,
I'm game, bring a plan, anybody else?
I just
We're-
can't
we're ready
believe
for a
you
plan.
guys
Bring a
get
plan to
into
us.
one bully all the time. That's what I have a hard time with. You get into one bully.
All right, anybody else
Anything
for
else, Rob?
discussion?
You were starting to say something.
Sorry.
that it
No,
was a tool.
I mean,
This is more
we
of
need
a-
to get it out, I mean.
This is more of a document center though. This is, I
Sorry.
mean, the email notification is a great feature, but this is more of a database for your history really, and to be able to search and help with FOIA requests, help find, information is really the purpose of this application. The email notification is a great feature. I understand it's limited access here. There's really nothing you can do about that, unfortunately, until everyone gets internet access. But, the main purpose is, to really ease the job of the clerk or help you guys find information from past meetings.
So as you
I
said,
apologize. It's just a really sore thing with me with this website and how we back off with a bully. I can't say enough about it.
But
This is-
Pat,
Heard enough.
you're, all right, we're moving on. I have to-
so Rob, this
my
is an
words.
add-on and,
Website add-on.
a website add-on. It doesn't take place of anything and we don't remove anything,
Correct.
just an add-on. Okay,
It's gonna enhance your website.
correct.
Right, so
Well,
Lori, with
I have
that,
a question in that regard. If we had no website, we could go to the Minutes on Demand or
Yeah.
Ameriscan and click on or search Cottrellville Township,
Correct.
and you could get all that information. So even if we had no website,
Correct.
it could still be out there for utilization of anyone.
of all our
Yeah.
committees,
Absolutely. All of your
everything we
document
choose,
types.
all our documents.
You can utilize the calendar still, absolutely.
The one phrase you said, FOIA, does that mean that anybody could find what they want there and they wouldn't have to bother Lori?
Correct. It's
majority
really
of
gonna
the
make her
stuff.
job easier, yeah.
So
The
they could go on
majority of the
and find anything out themselves, they wouldn't have to come and trouble her.
Keyword search anything.
All right,
You know,
so,
individuals' names for meetings, liquor license, fence, whatever you choose.
now, my question is, being that this is unfinished business, are we gonna make this an action? Because this is our 6-month
Oh, yeah.
trial period.
What does it cost?
It's $500.
$500 a year.
500 annually, you're not locked into anything long-term, so it's a year by
And
year.
can you explain, with regards to the cloud, how when you download the information that we receive the data once a month or however it was that you explained to me?
Well,
It's not like the cloud, if it disappears, we have backups, so can you
correct,
explain
yeah.
that,
And
please?
we can always provide a backup disk, so let's say, on your anniversary date, we would also like a disk of every document we have. in
They
the
still have a
application.
hard copy, I guess is what I'm saying.
Right, well, you still have the hard copies here.
Right.
Yeah, but we can also provide a CD or DVD of all of your information. We can send that out on your anniversary date. So every year you have that backup copy. But of course, you're always gonna have it electronically now on the computers, you're also gonna have the hard copies, that you're gonna be scanning.
And go ahead, just
But
so I
part
can elaborate on the cloud, Secretary of State, not taking any registration, anything
Oh, I can't-
paper-wise.
I
They're-
can't
they're
pay by
done.
check anymore, I have to do it over the internet.
St. Clair County, everything is going through the cloud. SEMCOG, right now, they're transferring all over anything that you're applying for through a cloud. They're working on that, but that's the way that.
Well, I mean, your
everybody's
website's
going.
technically the
You-
cloud, it's just, that means it's not on a
Everybody's
server
getting rid
here.
of paper. Paper's
What,
gone.
what does our legal representation say?
Why would I ask him? I don't know.
I guess we don't need one then.
He's an attorney. Well, I'm more familiar with what the administration is doing and all that. I wouldn't ask him what his.
If you looked at the
legal
contract, I
advice
might
is.
ask
Should we
you.
get rid of paper or not? I mean,
Well, not to get rid of paper, I mean,
What's
is there,
your
is there
question?
any ramifications that would be against us for doing something like that? Or doing something like
Well, you're
this?
still gonna make an official hard copy
Right.
of the packet, you're gonna scan that in, and you're still gonna have that hard copy packet there, then you can, like I said, access the packets electronically by your phone, a tablet, a laptop, you guys can bring them in here, whether you guys purchase them, whatever you guys do, everyone can be responsible for their own, some could use them, some can still have a hard copy. They did studies, the paper savings alone from printing these out from all your meetings would pay for this and some in a year's time.
Yeah.
But it's an add-on, as I asked earlier, it's an add-on. We're not committed to doing this. If we do this for 3 months and then Laura just gets tired or Sue gets
It's-
carpal
it's a
tunnel and
year by
doesn't
year.
scan it, are we committed to continue to do it once we start it?
No, absolutely not. No.
No issue with
Yeah,
that.
if you guys wanna start trying to do the paperless packets and it's just not working, then you don't do them anymore.
We're not
Just-
committed to anything.
No, it's a year-by-year contract, so $500 takes it to February 11th of next year. Next we go by the first of the month, so it'll be March 1st of next year. You're not committed to anything long-term now.
all the times we would do this, with how much paper.
And I understand that, but I just
The data
don't,
that we save, we decide not to go with a mayor scan in a year. Can we put that on our website? Stuff that we have already.
Yeah, let's say you tried out for a year, we have all this data that
Right.
we're gonna add from a year's time frame plus whatever you scan. Anytime you cancel our services, we take every document you have in this application and we mail it back to you on a disc. You do whatever you want with that
We can
document.
do whatever we want.
Yeah, put it on your next website if you wanna get rid of IT, right? The nice thing about this too is we transfer. So if you guys move to a different website company, we recreate the page to kind of look like your website, kind of make a seamless transition. As you notice with China, we didn't do it on yours because of the issues we've had here, but if you go to China's homepage, it looks identical to the page we create. So we kind of mimic your website a little bit. 77 clients in Michigan using it. We have them as small as 800 in population to the city of Southfield, 80,000 in population, and we price it based on population. So you guys would fall into our lowest tier, which would be under 5 or under 10,000, and then they break from there to 25 and then above 25. So we do price it accordingly for the smaller municipalities as well.
And I will say, Rob, you have been a gem in helping me. And in the process of doing it and answering my questions, and
Yeah.
you've always, if I couldn't get a hold of you, you've always called me right back, so.
Yeah.
And I'll agree with that, because I've asked you some pretty crazy questions.
I
It's
mean,
comparable
you guys
to
don't-
do I want you, or the website, because, you know, how I felt about that. But I actually, with looking into and all the committees that I sit on, everybody's going, and with our basement flooding and that, we learned a hard lesson about that.
Your Bloomfield one, approximately, how many gig would that be? Because I see that we've got this is good for 5 gigabytes of
Correct,
space.
so they went back, as I showed you, to the 1920s here, and they have their packets in there. So and what I mean by this, let me show you, and I'll show you how much space they have, I'll get to your question. Their packets, if I go to properties, this is a 6 megabyte packet, so they're pretty large files is what I'm getting at, but let me show you here and I'll answer your question. Now, if you exceed the 5 gigabytes, it's $100 annually for 5 more gigabytes, but I can pretty much guarantee you're never gonna do that with the size of your municipality. They're at, that's equivalent to 7 gig. rates. So you always know where you stand inside of here.
So they're $600 a year then?
Well, they're a little bit more because they're bigger in population.
Oh,
They're
okay.
actually.
But if that was us, we would be at
Correct.
$600, our first 5 plus 100 for our second 5.
Correct. Now, to give you an example, somebody more your size, China Township. 209 megabytes. They've even reached the gig.
And
And that would be closer to us.
China even had someone come in and scan for them so they could get it done in a couple of months.
We
You
did.
guys came in and
Yeah,
scanned,
we did
so
the
they
scan.
got everything in there. Now, are they trying to go paperless, or is that just all the
Not
archive?
quite yet. That's, again, the beauty of this thing. So when they are, they're just gonna go in here, they're gonna go right here, they're gonna say, create a new folder, agenda packets.
Right.
Start
And then
uploading,
it goes.
start uploading to that folder. Anytime you add a folder inside of here, it automatically adds it to your advanced search tree. So as you add folders, you have the ability, it adds, auto-populates in here, so you have the ability to search just that folder.
And we have the ability to designate a certain folder to be emailable,
Yeah.
and, or just the board can see, or just the clerk can see, or, you know,
Correct, if you want to use some for internal purposes.
Right, internal
it has
purposes.
that function.
okay.
Any other discussion?
I can't think of anything else.
Everybody good?
Well, he gave me the contract tonight. I have yet to look it over, so I'm not comfortable
So-
voting on
No, I'm not either.
signing it, but,
Yeah, it's not going anywhere, so.
yeah,
All right, so we can put this on the agenda for this,
yeah.
all right, we're good.
Nope.
Thank you
If
so
there's any
much.
questions at the end, just let me know.
Thank you, Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, guys.
Everybody ready to move on?
Not a-
All right, new business, item number 1. Huron Consultants for asbestos abatement specs and asbestos assessment of the garage for Waterfront Park. Thanks, Rick.
Good evening. Just a comment on the file size, Ken. Yeah, there are tricks to reduce the file size, you reduce the resolution, he knows all about it. And this is only documents, you don't have pictures. And if any, you can still reduce them. So there are certain tweaks that you can dramatically reduce the storage space that you need. But anyway, you're welcome.
It was. We're all sorry.
We're here tonight to talk about 2 proposals that we put together per the board request. As you know, we were visited by the DEQ, and they asked that the removal of the cabins need to be done by a certified contractor. And we did put the specs together for the contractors. I believe 4 contractors picked up the bidding specs, and there was a meeting last week, a pre-bid meeting. We explained what the scope is and what the each contractor need to do and how they should do it. And all that was in the proposed specs, and they were distributed to those 4 contractors. We originally had the bids due yesterday, and we notified these contractors that the due date will be extended about 2 weeks because we need to add the garage to the scope of work. Now, the garage is still standing, so we need to address the demolition and the removal. And I believe the state would like a survey on the garage to distinguish if there are any asbestos or hazardous material. My project manager visited the garage last week, and it looks like there will be a bunch of stuff that need to be addressed specifically by a trained contractor. So the second proposal that you have in your packet is just to do the survey for the garage and collect samples and get test results and make a recommendation of which items need to be considered hazardous and which items are not. And that, once we get those results, we're gonna add it as an addendum to the original contract. So it's the same contractor who's gonna get both tasks. So it's a removal, actually demo of the garage and packing the material and hauling off to the landfill. That will be added in a week or 10 days of time to the original scope. Right now, the original scope only addresses removal of material to the landfill.
So I need a motion first.
I'll make a motion. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead,
To
Sandy.
approve the $3,855 to Huron Consultants for asbestos abatement specs and asbestos assessment of the garage at the waterfront park.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Do we have any idea what this whole mess is gonna cost yet? Do you have any projections?
We gotta receive the bids, and we'll see.
Well, I know, but besides the bids for the work that they've done, what you've gotta do, what our overall liabilities are gonna be?
What our cost is listed right in front of you. The contractor, after they receive the survey for the garage, then they will give us their bids. And then we're gonna know how much. Because we don't know right now
So
what the
this
garage has.
$3,800, it pays Huron for the park.
This is to do the survey and also provide you with the inspection during the construction.
Okay, with that question that I just asked, do you have any idea what the total cost for Huron will be for the specs that you wrote in the park for what's gotta be done?
That's it.
This is it, so this is all it's gonna cost us for Huron to
I'm sorry.
get through our park thing?
Yep, I thought you were asking about that.
Well, no, I mean, is there gonna be
Construction
any
part.
more fees after this for the park from Huron?
Right now, we don't see anything unless the state comes in and they start.
Did we find any asbestos yet?
We
Or we
haven't-
don't, no tests have come back yet?
We haven't performed anything. It's proposed.
This is what this is for.
Oh, I thought one of
Approve the
these was a
survey.
bill that was already done.
No, it's
No.
approving the survey.
Now, there's a bill for the specs, the spec.
So the
book.
2,000 is just for the specs. This will be actually for,
That's for the garage. Yep. Remember, last month, you guys approved going forward, providing the specs and the construction inspection. This is only an additional to address the garage part.
okay.
Yep.
Any other discussion? All right, so the motion was, can you please restate it, Lori?
I believe you just read off the agenda, didn't you, Sandy?
Yes.
The motion was to approve $3,855 to Huron Consultants for asbestos abatement specs and asbestos assessment of the garage at the waterfront park.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Moving it on. Discussion on compensation commission. Lori?
This was a request from Vi and Mr. Barnes to talk about the Compensation Commission, which is supposed to meet every odd year. So if you want to allow.
Okay, Ms. Ray.
Yes, we have according to the authorities and responsibilities of Michigan Township Commission, I was a little behind in trying to figure it out, but according to the law, we have to meet every odd year to either set or whatever, to hold the salaries of the board members at what it is. Since that did not happen this year, the Township Boards and Commission of Bolton says that it is you need to have an ordinance repealing the Compensation Commission to eliminate it. At that point, I do believe that until such time as something else comes up, or you can set the, your own salaries, and you can put it out to the township to address it, or we can reinstate it or whatever, but it should stay the same in the meantime. Okay, that's my understanding.
If I may,
Go ahead.
I was reading what Vi had sent us, and I don't see where it says that we have to get rid of you if we don't invoke you. So is there a spot in here?
Not that I know of, but no, it just says that if you're going to eliminate the commission, you have to eliminate the commission by eliminating it by ordinance repeal.
Right, but if we're not going to
Yes.
utilize it for the year, but we don't want to eliminate you, do we have to eliminate you?
I don't.
John, do you?
That I can't answer.
I mean, if we didn't, if we,
The statute says that the commission shall meet in the odd years.
right,
Okay? And shall is a term that is a requirement,
okay,
all right?
yep.
And the ordinance that, the copy that I looked at, which I believe is the one that was adopted, but I'm not quite sure if there was any changes to it. The statute says the township board may implement the ordinance by resolution, including the date for convening the commission. Okay, that's what the statute says. May is a discretionary term, not mandatory. So, in looking at the ordinance that was adopted by the township did not set a day for the convening of the commission. So the commission can meet at any time during the odd year of 2015. And it says that it shall meet on not more than 15 session days in an odd number year. I'm reading from the ordinance. As used in this section, session days means calendar days in which the commission meets and a quorum is present. It shall meet and make its determination on salaries of township elected officials within 45 days after its first meeting. Okay? The commission cannot reduce the salaries. They can only make a recommendation as to salaries, but no reduction during the term of office. In this particular case, my thought is that the commission can still meet. They can simply meet and make a determination that nobody's requested any additional compensation, and that their recommendation can be that since there's been no request, that there be no recommendation regarding that. They can do that in one meeting in the matter and send that recommendation to the township. And they can do that anytime.
So we're clear in the future, is this, if I understood what you said, even though we didn't tell them to start meeting, they can do that on their own during the odd years?
The commission can
They don't need our directive to start?
No.
They, as the commission, know that they're supposed to meet every odd year, and they can start meeting. Is that, did I understand that correctly, or?
Yeah, here's what the commission, you know, it's, when this was originally done, it was twofold. There was a committee established to talk about compensation and part-time duties or statutory duties and, you know, a combination. We had a hybrid type of pay. So when this was originally done back in 2007, 2008, it was to establish, first of all, what would be the salaries and compensation, and should we continue with a hybrid system or not. That committee made a recommendation. That committee was simply formed by resolution of the board. This ordinance that was passed, this is something that is enacted by the township, and therefore it's governed by that ordinance. Quite frankly, it does not say that it simply says meetings of the commission and it says the commission shall meet. So they can meet, they can't meet more than 15 times, and they can make a recommendation, and that recommendation can simply be, no one's requested any increase in salary, and our position is then it's not necessary to make any recommendation other than status quo.
And for their meeting period, it's, as long as it's within that 45 days of the first time they meet, as long as they make a decision on anything before we adopt the budget for the next fiscal year.
Yeah, they could meet tomorrow. Oh, they can meet with notice, because they have to do it under the Open Meetings
Right.
Act. They can meet with notice, they can make their decision right then and there, they can pass it on to the board.
So this didn't have to be done by January 31st,
No.
which would make it kind of
You
impossible.
could have set the date
Right.
in your ordinance when, well, you wouldn't have been there, but when the township enacted this ordinance, they could have set a date for the meeting, the first meeting of the commission, which then would have required that to be completed within 45 days of that date.
Right.
The township never did that,
Okay.
to my knowledge, unless they did something other than what I have in front of me.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
All right.
Anybody else? All right. Item number 3, motion to approve the contract of Don Chop as superintendent of
Well,
DPW.
If we could back up to the Compensation Commission,
Sure.
then I would like to make a motion that we invoke the Compensation Commission so they can fulfill their duties as the Compensation Commission. And then in that way, we fulfill everything. So I'll make that motion to invoke the Compensation Commission to begin their meetings.
One more thing about that, it sounds very good, but I don't have my notes with me. And there's a rotating term, you're in so long, and then you get replaced.
Right.
And there's been people replaced, or, that have gone off.
Okay.
So those people that went off, you have to get somebody to nominate somebody to sit on the commission.
Do we have 1 or 2 people that?
I don't have my
longer?
thing.
Oh, okay.
You probably got more than that, because some of them have been gone for a long time, like Peggy Hansen and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
So I don't have my notes and tell you exactly how many people would be off, but you probably need 2 or 3 more people.
Okay.
So is that something we gotta ask for volunteers to?
Yeah,
ask
because
them
if we don't have a quorum, then we don't have a
Well,
committee.
we need to do this a little hastily because of our time period. We have to have the budget done by the end of next month. So if we're gonna do anything, not that we're asking for a raise or anything, but we need to get together the new people that need to sit there. We have to vote them in, approve them to sit. So you have to have a meeting for that. And then at that
Can you
point,
vote to dismantle the compensation?
you
committee?
have to
We're
do
not
that
gonna
by
have enough
resolution.
time.
You have to do that by resolution, and we don't have a resolution.
And there's one other question I have. John went through the whole meeting there. I mean, whatever the law says is the law says, but he said something about, when we had the compensation commission, we set the salaries as was stated in the policies based on the duties people performed. And that's what they were paid for. I don't care what your name was or who you are. This was your duties, and this is what you got paid for. Somebody else came, they did the same duties, they got paid for. So when you switch, if people lose part of their duties or get rid of part of their duties, then that means that they can't have a reduced salary. Is that correct?
There were 2 separate, the commission that was established by the ordinance, and that commission prevails today. Unless you repeal, you have to repeal the ordinance, which you're empowered to do, but you have to repeal it. As far as the other committee, that committee made a decision as to, that was an assessment of the responsibilities and duties of the officials at the time, and set a salary that they believed was commensurate with those responsibilities.
Correct.
Okay? And that's what those salaries are.
But if the duties have gone down, and they don't have the same duties, they still get the same pay?
The salary for the position has been set by the commission, and it was not overturned by either the electors or the board. Okay? That's the salary for the term of that office. That does not change.
So if, at this point in time, you cannot reduce anyone's pay until the next time there's an election to fill these positions, is what?
That's all I was asking.
Which makes it kind of hard to do because the compensation commission meets on odd years and people are elected in on even years,
See,
so.
because
Right, so what, my question is, let's just get back to the compensation, because we need to know that we have enough people on the board.
Right.
So we need to have the
We need
compensation.
5 members, supervisor makes the appointments, the board approves.
So we need, if we don't have 5 members, then we don't have a compensation committee, right?
Well, you don't have a compensation committee that is filled.
Right.
But you still have a quorum when you have
Still,
3.
You need to then appoint it, if you decide that you're no longer going to operate and have a compensation commission, then you need to take steps to repeal it.
Yeah, I have to research that, but I'm sure that when we presented the letter and everything last year or the year before, everybody who was on there that was on the commission, and there was things that when we, when they, their terms expired.
So my question is, what would our next step be, is my question.
Your decision, if you want to keep the commission in place, then you need to appoint to fill the vacancies and ask them to convene a meeting.
And if we don't want to,
And if you don't want to do it, then you have to propose that the commission be, the ordinance establishing the commission be repealed.
okay.
Can I make a
So-
motion that we want to keep the commission?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, sorry.
So I would find
Now you
out
gotta get
who's still
volunteers.
actively serving.
No, I don't either, you propose it.
Okay.
Well, but at this point,
Wait, let Lori write it down. What's the motion, Con?
to keep the compensation
Keep
commission.
the compensation committee.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay. Nay.
Oh, nay, sorry.
You only need 2 because it's Bev, Brian, and myself, or so on. So you need 2 people.
And Laura, I'm sorry, Sandy?
Yes.
You vote for yes.
Right.
Motion carries.
So technically, John, at this point, they have a quorum, they can still meet.
They have a quorum, but I think that you're still, if you're gonna keep the ordinance in place, you should still appoint 2
Right.
members.
Who's in charge of looking for volunteers? That would be the 3 that voted for it. Matt and Ken and Sandy.
Well, we can put out there that, I mean,
Volunteers that want to, they gotta apply to you.
Right, so that'd be out there.
do we have, if you guys have any suggestions on who might be interested in filling the 2 positions, please let us know. Not necessarily right now, but within the next couple days so we can get something going.
This has to be completed for the budget?
Yep.
You don't know how much you're gonna spend.
Bryant and Mr. Burns.
Okay, I was just asking.
I mean, I think you can make an assessment that if there's not gonna be a request for any increase, that there won't be.
There, I don't know of anybody that's asking for a
Probably
request
establish a budget
for
based on
increase.
that information. I think you can go ahead and do that. But if you
Well-
don't have, if you want, if the commission wants to establish a meeting, and they have 3 people, they can commence a meeting. But the vacancies under the ordinance still should be filled.
Well, those in the commission, if there's someone that you know of that's qualified, bring their names to us.
Okay.
I don't know of a board member that's requesting an increase, so that's why I didn't have a problem with.
Well, if we've just now voted to keep them, so I believe we need to allow them to,
Oh, absolutely,
To do
but
that.
I'm just saying the reason, I didn't know of a board member that was requesting an increase.
right.
All right, so can we move on? Everybody done? Okay, motion to approve contract with Don Chops as superintendent of DPW.
I will make a motion to approve the contract with Don Chop as superintendent of DPW.
Can I get a second? I'll second.
Don asked me,
Discussion.
I'm sorry.
You good?
Don asked me to mention that he would like the Sexton language and title added to his. We can take it off of Jonathan's if we feel the need, or leave it on Jonathan's so that it's covered.
And then he told me he doesn't care, it could be on both, so that way in case
Right.
of one of them, you know, they're
Right.
both TPW, so he
So-
said to put it on both is fine with him.
Okay, just so we know.
Right.
So,
Which
so I would,
Yeah,
Is that what the difference is between this and the last time we discussed his contract and no one wanted to pass it? What's different between this contract and that one?
the severance pay, I think, was added
Right.
to this
the
one.
severance pay was added, and,
Why did we add that to it?
I think it was
I
on
don't
there
know, that
before.
was in June, so,
I believe it was on there before, wasn't it, John? And it was taken off of the June version?
The last contract that was in June,
The one before that, the one that we're working off right now, I thought there was a severance portion.
the severance portion was taken out of Don's and John's.
And they asked to have it
requested
put
that
back in.
That was their main, and then we added the Sexton, and because we
Right.
didn't have Sexton duties, that was the two issues.
Severance is
And
under
then-
5 of Don's.
And we also added items on page 2, 14 through 17 on Don's. I added those in. That was the other additions.
Okay.
So on Don's, the difference was adding the severance pay, adding the Sexton duties, and adding items 14 through 17. That was the difference from his old contract to his new contract.
And he's on board with 14 through 17?
He is.
And we have a policy in place to spell out how that's done?
That's his contract. The policy in place would be this right here. This is what I looked up. I did not have access to this because there was some bug in my computer, but I contacted BSNA, which this addresses, took yours, which basically addresses what we've all been concerned about. Here's your work order, here's schedule
That's
time,
good.
where's it going to, what meter. I can't show you this on here, but this is work perform hours, mileage, work order number. On BSNA, when you go into that software, there's 3 different tabs. And the tabs have the information, the content, there's a lot of miscellaneous things. I just did this for my house to say, hey, so under here's where the work order is, here's the scheduled date. When you go into the various tabs, you can add in the meter type if you look down here, the meter ID. This all adds to everything that we asked about
Right.
at last month's meeting. This would all have to be documented by the clerk, deputy clerk, who's ever performing the work order when they go out to do the job. If they don't have what is stipulated in the contract, then you don't get paid for the job. Bottom line.
Have they agreed to that?
Yes, that's why we're voting on this right now.
Yeah,
That's why that's
they
in
looked
their
it over, and
contract.
that's,
And we had that severance thing in before
No,
and
we
somehow
didn't.
that didn't get in?
We had it in their previous contract, but when
That's
we
what I
went
was
to
just asking.
renew, when we went to renew the contract in June, the severance was out, and this was not included. So we said, wait, and we were trying to figure it out, and then it just kind of got curtailed, so now we have the whole shebang.
So the severance was previously in his last contract that he signed?
the prior contract, he had severance, I'm not sure if it was the same level or not, I can't remember.
Okay.
I think it was, it's 25%.
Management's proposal at that point was to eliminate the severance package, and then as part of the, I assume with the negotiation part, severance of this nature is described, was put back in, and then along with these other requirements.
With additional duties, which is pretty detailed, and it requires a lot more. documentation, as you can see, there's
Well,
a
that's
weekly
good.
log, a quarterly, I mean, I think,
I think back to Matt's question, the policy is this. He's a subcontractor. or
no, we're
is a
just talking about the
contract.
DPW.
He asked if there was a policy in place for this, and I believe the terms of his contract would be construed as the policy that he works under, correct, John?
It would be under his contract as a DPW employee. His contract under Duluth has nothing to do with.
I didn't say Duluth.
Oh,
And those duties are spelled out and they've been agreed to.
Right, and
So if either party were to breach one of the contractual terms, they'd be in breach.
right.
Can we pass this without you already having the copy made up where we had the Sexton thing to Don?
no, he's already agreeable. What?
I mean, if that's the same, is that the same contract that I provided in my last email?
Yep, all
Yeah,
he did was want to add the Sexton to both Jonathan and Don.
Yeah,
So
he's
can
like
we
his
vote on
own.
that without it being written up on these
Yeah.
contracts with
I'll modify
modifications?
my-
Simply
motion.
vote to add the Saxon language that exists in Jonathan jobs to that Don jobs.
Okay.
Right.
No, vice versa. We want to add Don to Jonathan because we put Jonathan on as Sexton and not Don.
So they both will be from now on?
Right.
Question with the Sexton language, when it says completes the location, opening, and closing of grave sites, construction of marked foundations, how do we propose him to do all that when we know what's in that cemetery? There's hundreds of
Sorry.
bodies not marked. What tools are we gonna give him to accomplish that?
I do not know. That would be on our planning commission.
No, we have to
What do
establish a
What do you mean
cemetery
your
commission.
tools? I'm not quite.
Just being that we know there's hundreds of bodies in that cemetery that aren't marked. Hundreds.
Right.
You ask someone to be a sexton to go out there and dig a hole and bury somebody when there's no marking of where people are in there, the large majority. I think we as a board, for the people in that cemetery, for the families of them, still have work to do for that, in that cemetery, and then to give someone a job saying, you're the sexton, go handle it. We're sort of dumping on him, I think, both of them, asking them to do something without giving them all the tools.
So
And I
then
know it's a lot of work, and
right,
it's
so
gonna
then
take
we
time.
should take up the Sexton duties, so we should have like discussed.
I'm not saying necessarily
That should have
take
been
it
brought
off,
up
but
before the board meeting when we're making a decision, to take up the section duties and revisit it through the planning commission and maybe a cemetery
why the
board.
planning?
I don't
In
think
there.
there's any, I don't think there's any intention for to
I mean, if you're gonna bury somebody, then you tell somebody, well, we can't bury you because we don't know, we have too many bodies.
No, you just, if you're gonna bury somebody, where are you gonna bury them? You're
If
gonna dig a hole and hope you don't hit
they
somebody?
have a plot and they say this is it, it's not the Sexton's fault that somebody's buried
When we,
there
when
already.
we assumed the cemetery, because we had to,
Right,
when we assumed it as it is.
correct.
Okay, we do not have an obligation at this stage to go and try to locate and define every person that's been buried, because that was a private cemetery.
I
A lot
understand.
of that existed before us. Our responsibilities are, if we are going to allow, there are some contracts, as I understand, for burial plots that still exist. I'm not sure we even know how many, but if someone were to come in and say, here's my
Excuse me,
contract and I have a burial, I want to bury my, relative in that spot. And at that point, I think we can ask, it would be, if that spot has not been, already
Bye.
filled or done, we can go ahead and then perform a sexton's duties. If we make the ascertainment that that burial plot is clean. If we determine that there's already somebody in there, then I would say we can't go forward, and they can't bury that in that burial plot unless they, the private citizen, takes action to see that that's cleaned up on their own dollar. We don't have an obligation, if there's been a trespass in that burial plot, to rectify the situation. That will be the person who wants to bury someone in that spot. That's the private responsibility, because we didn't assume all of those liabilities. In fact, we specifically declined any liabilities for past performance on the cemetery.
I appreciate and understand what you're saying. I just would hate to see them go out there and try to do that. Because I know there's
You would not direct them to do that. you have a cemetery ordinance, but this is only a circumstance if there's a clean burial spot, someone comes in and says, I have a contract, and they want it buried, and we can do that legitimately, because it hasn't been trespassed
It
upon,
allows them to do it then.
then they would make those charges.
Okay.
So,
Thank you, John.
I would like to amend my motion to include the sexton language that is found in Jonathan Chop's contract into Don Chop's contract for superintendent of DPW/sexton.
I'll still second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve contract of Jonathan Chop as laborer DPW sexton.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract with Jonathan Chop as laborer/DPW/sexton.
I'll second it.
Any
And,
discussion?
I was asked to include the severance portion that is found in Don's into Jonathan's, which was in the
Past,
contract,
right,
right,
his
the
previous
contract they're working
contract.
off right now. So, Jonathan would like to have that put back into his contract.
Do you still want a second?
So I'll make a motion to,
Was
amend-
that previously in Jonathan's too?
Yes.
I can't tell you, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Do you have a copy of the old, just to
I do in
verify?
my office. But I was a party to that one
Okay.
in 07, 08, and it was in there.
He doesn't have the same 14 through 16 or thing that Don is supposed to
That's,
have?
well, that's because
Well, that's because Don
shows
is
the
the
labor,
DPW
okay.
super,
Right.
yeah.
So are you still seconding?
Yeah.
Okay. So discussion?
One question, if I could. Under compensation, and maybe our attorney, I can put him back to work and ask another question. The language under compensation hasn't changed from past contracts. Second paragraph, for emergency services rendered after 8 p.m. during the week or on Saturdays or Sundays, there shall be a minimum call-in time of 3 hours. Is that consistent with old language? And you might not know that off the top of your head. With my past experience in contracts, that would mean services rendered, you actually did something, you just weren't home.
Again, I don't have the old contract, I can't comment on that. I'm looking at,
I'll wait till you're done, John.
I do have a copy of the 2011 one for Don Chop, and it says in that one, for emergency services rendered after 8 p.m. during the week or on Saturdays or Sundays, there shall be a minimum call-in time of 3 hours. Mileage reimbursement shall be at the standard township reimbursement rate. The purpose of this typically is that when you have a call-in on the weekends and or on holidays, and this is somewhat akin to other public service employees like firemen but more importantly, the police departments. If they're called in, let's say for a task, it may obviously interrupt the normal time off that you have if you work a 9 to 5, Monday through Friday job. So typically, it's not that uncommon to have a minimum set. So if you're called in and you get there and it takes up an hour, and then you drive back in, by the time you've maybe got your equipment together, you get out there, you get dressed for the job, you get out there, you fix it, and you come on back. Typically, that's the rationale is that you've interrupted this time, and they're not normally scheduled, and so you set a minimum time for payment. It's kind of like you're not paying them overtime, because this isn't an overtime situation.
What if there's not a call-in? Do they still get paid for 3 hours?
No, they have to be called in. There has to be a service break, or there has to be a reason why they have to attend to this thing. If it takes 6 hours, they're paid for 6 hours.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, if
takes
there's no
2
call, there's no charge.
There's no charge. If it takes 2 hours, they're paid a minimum of 3.
Correct.
And that's common in many of the public service responsibilities, particularly police, if you're called in.
I'll explain, thank you.
Any more discussion?
Then I would amend my motion to include the severance pay language that is the same as what's in Don's contract, for Jonathan's contract. And to approve the contract with Jonathan Chop for the laborer DPS sexton.
And I still second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5, a motion to approve contract with Duluth Construction.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract with Duluth Construction.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Don asked that under 3 payment, that the amounts be taken out, but I mentioned to him that it says shall be paid the following amount, so you need an amount in there. But he said due to the cost of materials, he requests that under A,
It's different.
instead of 600, put in 800. And under B, it should be 3/4 inch, not 3.4 inch. And he requests 1,400 as opposed to 1,200.
Do we have a copy of the rate schedule?
I do not.
Should we need it? Should we have it?
Well, this is kind of the rate schedule, if we vote on a number.
For repairs or anything?
That's what this is outlining. This is saying that they'll get $600 for a 3/4 inch
800.
service. Well, 800 is what they're requesting. And then for a 3/4 inch water service tap plus copper wire, valves, bore under the road and necessary parts, they would get 1,400. So that's your,
Until you get to C. That's what I'm asking for an explanation on. Time and materials job, do we have any kind of an idea what time and
I don't
material
think
costs
These are all
are?
things that should have been asked before we make,
Well, then, okay, we'll vote on it. Either it's on or it's off.
Don asked you to make those changes? Just
Right.
because he's not positive of material, time and material, you said material?
he said because material costs have gone up, that he's requesting it be $800 for the first one and $1,400 instead of $1,200 for the second one. Because this was originally drafted back in June.
actually, I want to, go ahead. I'd like to
I'm done.
table this because I think I do recall yesterday through our conversation that he has to not put a price on this
Yeah, but
because
of the language,
is this what he was talking about?
right, yeah, but
That
I
he
told them
said
that
he doesn't-
because of the language, it says that the following amounts will be paid. So in order to pay the following amounts, you have to have some amounts in there. So he wanted it to be no money or no amounts in there.
Right, because
So-
he didn't want to, his goal was he didn't want to look like he was jacking up the price because he wasn't sure. Do you see what I'm saying? He knows it's more than 600 and 1,200, but he's not sure if it's the 800 and 1,400. So he asked, he said, can you not put a price on it?
Well, then
But
we-
you can't, we can say,
I'll second the table.
yeah.
I think so.
I would just feel more comfortable with that. Because I'd rather have a price than not have a price, right, Con? I mean,
I just,
Yeah.
You
the
know,
time and materials is what
right,
I was
that's-
looking for.
that's-
These other numbers were fine.
right, but that's what I remember him saying that, and I just agree with you that I'd rather have a price than not a price.
So
right.
table until we get prices.
We'll table Duluth, because we can always add that to like our budget workshop thing or something.
And
Yeah,
so-
she
Yeah,
said she
so we
wanted
have to
table,
make,
and I seconded
we have
it.
to make the amendment. So I'll make the motion to,
And Ken seconded.
and Ken second it. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, oppose. Okay, motion carries. And we'll bring that back up. We do. Hey,
I'm sorry?
don't we have to turn on your motion?
You had a first motion.
Because I amended it.
Not really, it's just to open,
Okay.
it's to open discussion.
Okay.
And when I do up the minutes, I put down that the first motion was not voted on, it was stated to open discussion.
Okay.
And then I made the motion to table it and Ken seconded it and we are in favor of it. Okay, cool. All right, so moving on to motion to approve resolution R 2015-01 water purchasing billing agreement with Shangri-La. Do we need John for this one or can you do it, Lori?
The only way I would do that is if I read the whole resolution and the whole agreement, so if John wants to explain it, that might be quicker.
I understand that this is our proposal. It would also have to be finalized and agreed with by the park. This is relief that they requested. One of the things that have not, they were, as to the potential, if they were to sell the park or something in the future, what would be the, they talked about possibly doing some covenant that would run with the land. I've done some research on that. I'm not comfortable with that concept because covenants that run with the land usually talk about interest pertaining to the land itself, and such as an easement or use, and this really has to do with a contractual term. So I concluded that I'm not really comfortable with this. So this would be our proposal. This would be in response to their request. It would be a proposed resolution for an agreement as to this particular thing. They would have to accept it as well, and of course they could always come back and make a counteroffer with some other different proposal. It won't be a finalized agreement until both, there's a meeting of the minds between both parties. But the reason that this was set in motion is because they have over 100 lots that are vacant and have been vacant. The park never developed as the way they thought it would be, and the park remains not fully utilized, and particularly as to all these water taps. They pay on a master meter basis. They pay for all water that comes into the park. They also pay for each lot. They pay a service charge, quarterly service charge, for which they pay whether they use water or not. That they're seeking relief from that proposition because it's a cost that they're not utilizing these lots currently. And under our ordinance, the Township Board does have the authority to make an equitable adjustment of a rate. And I believe that they have presented cause for seeking an equitable adjustment. But as we have discussed with them and discussed on this issue, on one side, we understand that they want relief because they have no customers, they're not using the lots, and they're paying a service and maintenance fee for lots that have not been used for years and perhaps may not be used for years in the future. And they're a local business, and obviously we have to be somewhat responsive to their concern on this. On the other hand, that maintenance charge that everyone pays within the township goes to maintaining the entire water system. That includes, if there's a main break, let's say on M29, that supplies water, we have to repair that. And that maintenance fee that is spread across all of the township residents pays for that. In the circumstance, they have the availability of the water. We have to maintain that water main on M29 to keep that available to them should their business ever prosper and they fill these spots. I have the circumstance in one other township where they're also seeking this type of relief for underutilization of lots. The problem with that one is that part of that fee still goes to the payment of the debt charge for the district. And I've indicated in that circumstance you cannot relieve the debt charge. That cannot be taken off. In this case, there's no debt charge. This all goes to maintenance and operation. So I think there can be relief granted. So the purpose of this is they are going to take 90, even though they have more than 90 vacancies. They're going to take that number and they're going to basically retire those currently for any usage. And we would take off those quarterly charges. If they reinstate the water service to any one of those 90 lots, this 90 float, then in addition to having to start picking up again the quarterly charge, they would have to pay a new tap-in fee. Even though they have the water to the door, as part of the agreement is they'd have to pay a water tap fee. And the reason for that would be for the township to have a means by which to recoup. If during the years, let's say 6 years go by and they haven't paid the quarterly fee, then all of a sudden they do want water to that particular unit, then they're gonna have to pay a one-time tap-in fee and then start commencing the quarterly fee on top of that. And that would give us a vehicle to recoup if there's an expense and if this thing were to go. The alternative, obviously, is to say no, but, you know, if the park were to close, you would have, I'm not saying it would, but potentially if you put an economic burden on an operation and they were to close, you'd lose the biggest water customer in the park. As part of their agreement too, they're willing to take over the reading of the meters. They have individual meters to their units, but they have a master meter for which they have to pay us. If they lose water from the master meter into their individual units, the park has to pay for it. But they would take over the reading of the meters and the collection of the funds. They would pay us based on the water meter. We would get a payment from the park. And they're going to bill monthly their customers. It works for them, it would work for us. They'll take that duty off of our responsibility, and they will seek the collection from their customers because they will be paying us directly. So there is some benefit in the administration of the distribution of the water to the park.
And just a clarification in that, we would read the master meter.
Yes.
They will read the individual meters.
And what their individual meters read does not matter because they're still gonna pay us what our master
What the
meter
master
reads.
meter is.
And I just think it's are you done? I'm supposed to. I just think it's a win-win-win situation for Cottrellville because it alleviates a lot of the deputy clerk's time, our DPW time. I think John did a great, awesome job of covering all the issues for us, and it takes a big, huge burden off of us, because this was
This was the biggest problem area for
I mean-
collecting.
So we
money
don't
for
care if the
water.
residents don't pay the trailer park, that doesn't
no,
concern us
that won't,
whatsoever.
right.
We're going to get paid.
What
We get
did,
paid.
what did our DPW say of all of this? So,
Wonderful.
did they?
This
Well,
is a
that's-
big headache.
And our,
gone.
and it, I mean, paper-wise, sending out, past, I mean, it was just postage, there's just so many things, time-wise, setting up payments that are non-collectible, and all this is just a win-win-win.
If
for
they have a
Cottrellville.
water leak in the park, like you'd said earlier, should they develop one? Are they bound by this, or is it in here anywhere? Do they have to use our DPW, or they can hire anybody they want at that point?
They can try to repair it on their own if they choose.
Well, that's what I mean, but I mean, they don't have to use our DPW.
No, it's their
No, they still
responsibility.
get charged for the water, though.
But they'll be charged on the water that's lost. And they are interested in doing, according to their managing member, they are interested in doing an inspection of their own pipe and may even want to see if they can utilize the service if we go and inspect our lines so that they can try to correct any water loss that they have. And one other aspect that we built in this as well is if they were to sell within 5 years, or and the new seller would not agree to this, or if they then there's a provision in here that on all of those 90 lots, they would even have to pay us a tax bin fee at that time of $12.50. So if they go to sell and they don't get the new purchaser to agree to these terms of this, then they're obligated to pay us basically 5 years worth of quarterly charges. So I
At
mean,
$12.50 per lot,
yeah.
90 times?
Yeah, so there's a lot, that's one of the things that they're not, that I'm not sure that they're ultimately, it's a debatable point for them, and they want us to have some kind of covenant that runs with the land. But my problem is that I researched that, and I don't really feel comfortable trying to assess a contractual term as a covenant that runs with the land. I just don't see that that's a vehicle I can utilize. So obviously, we've got some, I think I agree, it's a win-win situation. They're giving us concessions, we're giving them concessions that are equitable, given the circumstances, the economic circumstances. If the park prospers and they fill those spots, it's going to be good for us, it's going to be good for them. If it continues the way it is, then they don't have this basically dead lots for which they are paying a fee.
And we also have the ability to go in and audit those 90 lots that they say are vacant.
And it also, they're not paying for something that's not there, and it helps them to be able to maintain the park so that they can maintain it.
They're not
Like it
being
says, the way
charged
I'm
an
saying.
excessive amount.
You know, they can
for
utilize that
unused.
money elsewhere to keep up the maintenance of the park in other areas, I guess is the way I'm saying.
Don's
So
on board with this, though, right?
Yes.
And they're in a unique situation. 'cause
Yeah,
they're
it is.
They're the only entity that would be put in this situation where they would have, I think they have 170 lots or whatever it is. And, you know, there isn't another entity like this that would face this kind of problem. And
Another
thankfully,
Cottrellville first.
our ordinance
Imagine
provides
that.
for us to make an adjustment. Thanks, John.
Thanks,
you,
John.
I will make a motion to approve Resolution R 2015-01, water purchase billing agreement with Shangri-La.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Oh,
Motion carries.
it's a resolution, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
we have to
do a
roll call.
Ken,
Yes.
Lori, yes. Sandy,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes. Item number 7, motion to approve payment to Huron Consultants in the amount of, that's wrong, it should be $6,750 for the saw grant work. And the reason why we do not have this under the regular consent agenda is because it's a grant, so that way if they come to audit and look at it, it's just easier to find.
It's actually, I'm sorry, it's 75.
75, yeah.
But minus our 10%.
No,
Oh, you already minus the 10%?
the matching fund is deducted by the state. You ask for the 7,500 less, but
Oh, okay, I got you. Okay. sorry
okay,
about
so
that.
what's the amount? We're
7,500.
Sorry.
7,500?
I found my papers slipped over here.
I have a better news for you today.
Good. We like better news.
Do we want a motion before we?
Yeah.
Okay, it's for 7,500.
It's 7,500, yeah, it's basically 6,600 plus 900. Matt caught that.
Okay, that's thank you, Matt.
Well, we want to pay 10%.
Yeah. Well, then I'll make a motion to approve where's my agenda?
I can't.
To approve the payment to Huron Consultants in the amount of $7,500 for saw grant work.
I'll second it.
Discussion? Go ahead, Simon.
Yeah, I've got a question.
Sure.
DPW hadn't been notified of any of the work that's been going on.
Actually, Don looked at that today and he said that was all good to him. I showed him the invoices today.
Yeah,
And he told me today he hadn't been notified of any of it.
Then we have a standstill, so we still have a motion and discussion.
Is it hard for you guys to keep him updated, him or the deputy supervisor,
We
as to
are.
when and where you are? He
Yeah.
claims he hasn't heard from you since the last time we had our meeting, and we discussed that. You said that from now on, when they're working, they would give him a call.
yeah, we
That's
met-
not what he told me today.
We met
in
with
my
him
office.
twice after that, and we went through the maps, and
That's not what he told me today in my office.
Sam from my
I had him look
office-
at those before we put them on the agenda to
Just tell me, he stopped by to tell me. I said, were you aware of any of this? And he said, no, I've
Well,
only
then we
talked to you
need
the
to have a
once.
talk with Don before you call it one of our vendors. You need to call our employee, because he sat in my office today and told me I asked him to look over those papers.
I suggest this, if there's a gray area, every time we meet with
There is.
DPW, we'll have one of the board members attending.
Well, that's fine, I mean, they're just,
If there is any gray area.
I'll
We
attend.
or
normally,
the deputy supervisor.
I'll
Can,
attend.
can we finish talking? You always interrupt when I'm talking to
I
you.
will, because I disagree with you.
Well, that's fine, that's your opinion. I'm talking to Sir Mitt. He's the one that just said that you were never, ever notifying him. He's looking at the bill, he may agree with the bill afterwards, but he said, I have no idea really if they were there, but all of it looks good. Is it hard to notify him when you're gonna be working?
I am
Or the
sure
deputy supervisor, either one?
we have notified him, we have been talking to him. At least we met him twice after that initial meeting.
He said only once, but I mean, that's the story I got.
But Sam, from my office, is the project engineer on the job, and he's been always talking to him.
I'll
about the
solve this
map
problem
up-
right now.
updates.
At the next meeting, we'll have Don here to clarify this disagreement that Ken and I have, so then
Well,
we'll
it's
move
not a
along.
disagreement, I just asked,
That's fine.
you
We'll
know,
move along.
That's fine.
So,
It's-
any other discussion regarding the payment for the Saul grant? I have a motion, I have a second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
nay,
Motion carries.
Thank you. The item number one, I know there was a motion to approve the specs. That dollar amount is wrong. It's actually $18.55.
But we included we said for the specs, the abatement specs and the money for the garage.
You already approved that last month.
Oh, so we did?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is only for the garage, and it's only $18.55.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Yep.
So does that change our bottom line of 7,500?
No,
No,
item number
that's
one, it
totally
changes
separate.
it changes it to
38.
1855 instead of 35. Take out the 2,000.
Yeah, and your orders of bills should be the same, because you already proven everything.
Thank you for clarifying.
how long does it take to get those results back?
About a week. We need a couple of days to go and actually collect them, and then a week to get them back.
Have we collected any from the pile we've got now? Not yet. You'll do that when you do the garage?
That's not part of the contract,
Oh.
because the state said, treat it
Oh.
all as asbestos.
Okay,
So we're not collecting any samples.
okay.
Sir Med, once that is completed, the samples have been tested, the materials removed, will they, I don't know the word I'm looking for, will they check to see if there's asbestos in that ground? Is it a contamination into the soil, or will that be a concerned problem after they're removed?
In the ground, no, that's not part of the work. Normally, it's only concrete, but you're thinking of debris seeping through the ground?
It's all, yeah, rainwater, snow, something.
Like the soil sample. The
Right.
soil sample they conduct, if I may, before, when they applied for the grant, a soil sample had to be taken. That was a contingency of the grant. So the soil sample was already taken. What the upstanding structures were is something else.
Yeah, Matt is referring to after the demo.
Oh, after.
If anything
the-
went
I'm
through.
sorry.
Yeah, cross
No.
country, there shouldn't be after this, and I know it was
Oh, with
asked what the cost will be
like
and
if
so
the
forth.
asbestos
And
goes in there? Okay,
yes.
so now I get what you're
We've
saying.
got
like
dust
the
in there,
runoff.
usually a lot of times when
Right.
they take asbestos down and to destroy it, they use a fog pattern, water of some sort to keep the dust down.
That's part of our proposal to, yeah, so, I mean, the contractor will control the dust, and we will monitor. We will monitor, put air monitors around, just to make sure we don't have
Was
any
that
asbestos going
in
anywhere
the
else.
pre-bid that you guys put out?
I'm sorry?
Was that in the pre-bid policy that you guys put out, those specs of the monitoring and what was required?
No, the monitoring is our task, not the contractor.
Okay.
And that's already, you already approved that.
And we already.
Right, and that's
La-
what,
last-
that's what I want
yeah,
to
last week.
clarify. That's what we already,
Again, and then the question is, once all this is done, we're hoping, crossing our fingers that it's done.
right. Because everything's everywhere. So it's hard to keep track of.
Well, I know, but
That's what I'm saying. It's like, where.
Everything right now is in a pile, and it's
Right.
all
right.
I
Thank
The
you.
piles are gone, and we're hoping that everything's fine. That's the goal, obviously.
Well, they're gonna treat it as hazardous material, so everything will be wrapped before they move it. And everything will be contained in plastic containers and then go into the landfill.
If we could clarify for the audience, because we keep kind of crossing over. When we say we are treating everything as asbestos, it's what's already torn down. What we're now saying we need to survey is a building that is still standing.
Correct.
So it's not, so people don't think, well, why are you paying for a survey now when you keep saying it's all being treated as asbestos? It's two different things.
Yeah, the garage was not part of the original cabins, and I think it's part of the grant, conditions to remove that garage, and it was just left.
If it's
Yeah.
non-recreational,
Yeah.
nothing's gonna be stored, and the general consensus was it was better to,
And the state law says if you have freestanding building before you demolish, you have to do a survey. That's what we're doing here.
Right.
Complying with the law.
correct. Thank you. All right, so where are we at, Lori?
you.
Thank you, Simran.
We are on number 8.
Motion to accept Matt Kowalczyk's resignation from the Planning Commission.
I'll make a motion to accept Matthew Kowalczyk's resignation from the Planning Commission.
Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay, me. Motion carries. Motion to accept Joseph Otto's resignation from the Parks and Rec Committee.
I'll make a motion to accept Joseph Iudo's resignation
sorry.
from the Parks and Recreation Committee.
Can I get a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Can we have some discussion?
Oh, discussion.
Any
sorry.
idea why he's resigning?
Is it in his resignation letter?
It said it was a resignation letter. I asked if there was any kind of a reason that he gave, other than he was resigning.
I said, did he put it in his
No.
resignation letter?
That's why I was
Then
asking.
I
Does
have
anybody
no,
know why?
I did not elaborate. I just accepted his letter. I wasn't gonna.
I think some things are private and it's not.
If he
us
chose not
question
to
why.
elaborate, that's,
It's up to him.
wasn't
what
for me
he
to
wants
I
inquire.
just asked.
Oh, well, okay. Any more discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public comments?
Yes, do I have to take 40?
I don't know. How do we feel about that? I don't want to get in trouble.
I have 2 questions. 3, 4, and 5 on here, there's money involved. That has to be a roll call vote.
Actually, I didn't bring that book in, but no, it does not. I have it on MTAs, and it gives me a site as to what needs to be roll call votes, and that's resolutions. If we decide to do roll call votes, I'm
It's-
sorry,
it's-
I'm talking during your speech.
It should be a roll call vote. It's always been the township policy before. If you're going to spend money, you want to know who approves it.
Let me know when your 3 minutes are.
And the other thing is on water bills. The last water bill we received, it had to be paid by the 7th, which was on a Saturday. You're closed on Friday and Saturday. Why isn't that date moved to the first Monday? That's what we have done previously, because you're not here on those 2 days.
Wait for 3 minutes. I know.
I'm
I
waiting
would
for-
assume nobody thought of it.
No, we're waiting for the 3 minutes to expire so we can talk.
We're not being rude by,
No, we're just waiting for the 3 minutes to be up.
well, we got 2 minutes to go, so,
We're not
Unless she
done.
says she's done.
yeah.
Did you say? I'm sorry.
I didn't get an answer. If there,
Well, we have to wait for your 3 minutes. We can't interrupt your
Okay.
3 minutes.
that was my question.
Okay.
So I would think if you say they have to be paid by the 7th, was on a Saturday, you'd be open.
First of all, we're not being rude. We just have had conflicts about 3 minutes. We don't really have to address the residents when they speak. We've learned not to interrupt them, so we're not being rude. And then if anybody chooses to answer your questions, that's up to them. I personally like that forum. I love that we can all talk to each other in that, but I'm not interrupting anybody during their 3 minutes. That's all I have to say.
I never thought about it.
Okay.
Ellen takes care of the bills, but that is a very excellent point, and I will make sure I talk to her about it.
I agree.
Okay.
With regard to the bills, and then, yeah.
Okay,
And
thank you.
then,
And I'm sorry I
the
interrupted before.
the township policy, if you can help us find that, that would be great.
With regard to the roll calls voting,
Yeah.
yeah.
That would be great, because if we don't know the policy exists, there's not a policy handbook. There's not a binder that
In,
says.
in
the town-
this little book, there is in there, it tells you a listing.
in
I
what
just
little
looked
book?
at it.
Here in
make
the
sure.
township hall?
Nope.
The
But no,
authorities,
You
but
must
you're
have a
saying,
copy
you're
of
saying
it.
there's a township policy, but show us where the township policy is, not your MTA policy. You said there's a township policy, that's what you said, so we're trying to find the township policy.
It spells it out in here.
But
I'll
you said
send-
there's a township policy.
Hold on. yeah.
MTA can say you can create a policy, but you stated that the township had a policy. We're not aware of that.
We did have one.
But that's what I'm saying, so if we have one, if you can show us that, we'll be happy to follow it, but as of now, we're not aware of it.
Should be in your book in there.
In what book? That's what I'm saying, we can't find a
The book
policy.
that we have has maybe.
Have you seen a policy? None of us have seen a
We
policy.
like what you're saying, but we haven't seen it.
We like what you're saying, but we can't find it. So we'd be happy to adhere to that if there's a policy, but we have yet to find one.
Do you have the book that's got all the policies and things in it?
For Cottrellville Township?
Yep.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Well,
None of us have one.
We have a book.
That's what we would like to
We
know.
have a book that has policies in it, but there's only like 3 policies in it, so.
So that's what I'm
We
saying.
don't
If
have
you're
a-
familiar with what it looks like in that, please help us look for it. I'm sorry?
It would be in the black policy book, and in the front, there was a index that listed the names and where it was and the date.
I understand that, but we can't even find the policy book. So that's the problem we have. It's not that we don't want to adhere to township policies. We just need to know what they are.
Well, it was here when I left.
Oh, it's not here now, is what I'm telling you.
You must have a mouse.
We must have. Imagine that. Surprise, Cottrellville. All right, so we're moving on. Any more public comments? All right, with that being said, supervisors report. Okay, I attended the project management workshop in Troy, learned a lot of new information. I think it will help me with the waterfront park and everything else that's going on. I've been attending the Eastern Michigan University Planning Commission Master Planning classes. Can't wait to bring all my questions that I have to the Planning Commission. I'll be forwarding that to you guys. I attended the Fire Authority Commission meeting. We are the Marine City Fire Authority Commission meeting. We are acquiring a new water truck. I have asked Matt Kovalchuk to sit on that committee because I think he'd be a huge asset today. I'm still waiting for his answer. Met with our emergency management liaison this month, which is Joe Roshan, regarding the wind system. We're still working on that with classes so that our residents know how to sign up for, how to be notified for a whole bunch of stuff. So we'll elaborate on that more the next meeting because I know everybody wants to get out of here. Attended the pre-bid meeting regarding the debris removal for the park. I attended the MTA meeting for our chapter, which we had the governor speak on our road funding. So if anybody wants to know about that or what's going on the ballot in May, I'm happy to discuss that with you. This morning I attended the Scots Committee meeting that I sit on, and I am happy to say that out of the lack of road funding that the state has, our township actually received $583,976 for the Mantra building, between the Mantra building and Church Road, plus the engineering development is also in effect right now for all of Shortcut Road, which was a $96,000 project, which is our road, and we're only paying $45,000 of it. So notes on that. Broadband, we're not getting it. It's a county issue. It's not a township issue. We've tried everything we can. I've decided to turn my attentions elsewhere because it's just a losing battle. Ken knows that, Sandy knows that. It's not in the township hands, it's in the county. So if anybody has any issues with it, contact the county because we can't do anything about it. Media room, we're gonna wait on that because we switched offices. The assessor needs a computer, our DPW needs a computer, so we're waiting on that. Having a budget workshop, what date is that? I would like to do that 2 weeks from now, which would be, Lori, do you have a computer? I mean, a calendar, I'm sorry.
Well, yes, I do. 2 weeks from tonight?
It can be in.
The 25th.
Oh, can't do that, but we have the road
Planning
commission meeting, board of review, can we do it on Thursday?
26th?
Yep.
I'm open.
On that Thursday, what about like 10 o'clock? Okay. So we'll do the 10 o'clock on Thursday, the 26th for a budget workshop.
Vi, if I could ask you, when we set a date like that, should we be voting on accepting that date? Or can the supervisor, well, it's a special meeting, so you can tell us that's gonna be the
right
date.
now, and then you can post it.
Yeah. Right, the supervisor can just tell us when the date is.
Yes.
For the meeting. Thank you.
Okay. So we're good? So motion for adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
We approved the agenda, did not have a second.